Hi, I'm Kristin Noell, a librarian here at Massanutten Regional Library, and today it's time for another episode of Treasures from the Vault. We're going to be talking about Christmas and winter-related items that we have in our vault collection. Not everything we keep in the vault is old. For example, we have holiday music recorded by local artists on CD, like this 2006 Shenandoah Valley Children's Choir album. We do have older formats too, including cassettes and records, like this 1963 recording of a carillon concert performed by Charles Chapman at the Singing Tower of Luray. About 15 years ago, WVPT had a series called Road Trip to History about the communities, history, and events that shaped the heartland of the Shenandoah Valley. Along with several episodes about local towns, we also have this old-time Christmas episode, which attempts to imagine Christmases of yesteryear. Local musicians in period costumes sing Christmas carols and tell stories in venues like Fort Harrison, the old schoolhouse at the Brethren and Mennonite Heritage Center, the Bush Hog Farm on the Newmarket Battlefield, and more. Don't forget, if you're interested in listening to or viewing these or any other audiovisual items we have in the vault, you can visit us and use our audiovisual station. This is a unique item. Agnes Klein kept newspaper clippings, mostly from the Daily News Record, about snowfall in Rockingham, Augusta, and Shenandoah counties from 1958 to 1966, and donated her scrapbook to the library. I thought I'd flip through and show you a few images because it's neat to see the familiar landmarks as they were 60 years ago. Here's a stalled milk truck on the road to Massanutten Springs in February 1958. Here's the World War I monument on South Main Street in March 1960. This image from March 1960 shows, quote, a Harrisonburg police officer, like a lone sentinel, moves through snow piled high at the courthouse. This is the film librarian at Madison College in 1961, Mrs. W. W. Bird, arriving to work by an antique sleigh that her husband kept on hand for such occasions. And here is a look down the Harrisonburg Main Street in March 1962. This is a deserted downtown area on Christmas Day 1962, when the 5-inch Christmas snow was the heaviest we had had on Christmas Day since 1909. And lastly, here's a 10-inch snow that fell on the courthouse in February 1966. One book I always enjoy looking at is Shenandoah Valley Cooking, Recipes and Cooking Lore, compiled by Elmer Smith in 1970. Smith, who became the director of James Madison's Social Sciences Division in 1958, was one of the founders of the Shenandoah Valley Folklore Society. He conducted research and interviews to document the folk culture of the Shenandoah Valley until his death in 1981. Here he talks about sleighing parties. He says, sleighing parties were among the most popular social activities during the winter months before the turn of the century. Almost every rural neighborhood had a farmer who was prepared to handle sleighing parties. They had a specific destination, usually a farmhouse, where they stopped for refreshments. Hot chocolate and cider were common, but on occasion the repast was more extensive. Members of the party came equipped with cowbells, dinner bells, a string of sleigh bells, or even tin horns. When passing a farmhouse or another sled, the object was to make all the noise they possibly could. During the ride, they sang the songs of the time, such as the popular Jingle Bells. Holidays and Pastimes is a great little book by John L. Heatwole, a local artist, historian, and folklore collector. He moves chronologically through the year from New Year's to the 4th of July to Christmas and everything in between. Bell-snickling was a Christmas tradition of Pennsylvania German origin, which involved dressing up in homemade costumes. They would go from house to house, and the homeowners were supposed to guess who the bell-snicklers were. When they were unmasked, they were usually invited in for food. To me, this sounds like a mix between trick-or-treating and a Christmas party, and I think we should bring this tradition back when we're pandemic-free. Here's a great photo of Singer's Glen bell-snicklers in 1910, which belongs to the Harrisonburg Rockingham Historical Society and was reprinted in a 2017 Daily News Record article. As I said, John L. Heatwole was an artist in addition to a collector of folklore. Our Vault pamphlet file contains a folder on him and his work, including this 2009 Shenandoah Journal feature about his sculpture series, The 8 Days of Christmas, which his friends commissioned. The pieces certainly capture his whimsical style, though unfortunately the series was not completed before his death. Since I'm on a roll with local historians, I'll briefly show you this small volume by John Wayland, who was at one time the head of the history department of the State Normal School, and is more known for his writing on Shenandoah Valley history. When Christmas Came to the World, published in 1924, is a retelling of the biblical Christmas story and the meaning of Christmas. And today the world is making its own Christmas for itself, largely in its own way, he writes. Every man is making his own Christmas, largely in his own way. To him, Christmas is what he already has in his own heart, and by crowning mercy it depends much more upon what he has in his heart than it does upon what he has in his purse, or in his library, or in his family history. Christmas Days by Nannie Francisco Porter is undated, but it probably is from the same time period as Wayland's book. It contains 2 Christmas stories in a flowery, somewhat preachy style, Bob's Christmas and Dr. Jackson's Dinner. Maybe one day we'll use them for story time, but for today I want to leave you with a bit from the first paragraph of Bob's Christmas because it sets such a beautiful scene. It was Christmas Eve in Virginia, the air cold and crisp, while upon the earth shone the gentle glow of a Christmas star. The place called itself a town, but it was scarcely more than a wayside village, a suburb of the big city 2 miles distant. The atmosphere was charged with the sympathy of Christmas, goodwill and cheer, a spirit of kindly thought, the real spirit of the season. I hope you've enjoyed another peek into our vault. We here at MRL hope that all of you have a happy and healthy holiday season.